Hey folks, this is Riker with a Diablo 3 video on the Necromancer. Over the weekend, running concurrent with the PAX convention, Blizzard held a press event in Boston showing off the latest developments on the Necromancer, and we'll go over everything that came to light in this video. Before we dive into the Necro, real quick, the BlizzCon 2017 dates were announced November 3rd and 4th. Now, while we do have strong reason to believe that there is some new Diablo project in the works, odds are it will not be revealed at this BlizzCon. What we are most likely to see for Diablo 3 at BlizzCon will likely be the reveal of a new class pack, likely something like the Druid or otherwise some kind of shapeshifter, but we'll have to see and we can speculate further as we get closer to BlizzCon. The other thing we'll mention before diving into the Necro is that Season 10 is coming to consoles. We speculated that this might be the case for a long time, but it has finally been confirmed as of a few days ago via official Twitter announcement. Alright, on to the Necro. We'll go over what Blizzard officially revealed via a Battle.net post today, as well as additional info gleaned from BlizzPro. Leviathan and Dreadscythe from BlizzPro were in attendance at the event. These two guys alongside Nineball do some great work for the Diablo 3 community via BlizzPro, via the Westmarch workshop. You guys should check them out. But diving into this right now, in contrast to the BlizzCon 2016 Necromancer gameplay, we had a different set of skills previewed over the weekend. You can check out our old Necromancer BlizzCon video for details on what we saw then, but this Necromancer was very much melee-centric, the latest one that was showcased. Further, the female Necromancer was revealed and she's looking pretty cool. You can see her various armor sets going through right here. As well, the in-game footage that we'll show is all the female Necromancer. So the first new skill showcased was Grim Scythe. This is a generator. It's kind of like the Crusader's sweep attack, though it seems to have a wider arc, and BlizzPro confirmed that that arc is actually 180 degrees, so it's certainly able to affect a good range of enemies. The next skill we see is Death Nova with the Blood Nova rune. Now, there were major concerns when in the Necromancer Q&A, which we covered in a video a couple months ago, the developers said that poison would not be coming to the Necromancer in Diablo 3, that they were dropping that from the Diablo 2 Necromancer. And they just said that there weren't enough real poison skills that were widely used or that people widely associated with the Necromancer. And the first thing that came to my mind was, of course, Poison Nova. To me, that was an iconic Necromancer thing. I personally didn't use it, but it felt very Necro, and we kind of speculated back then that, well, they can retain that Nova gameplay and just make it a Blood Nova. This way we can capture that blood theme as opposed to the poison theme, and it looks like that's exactly what they've gone with here. What's interesting to note, however, is that you have Death Nova with only one of the runes being Blood Nova, so what will those other runes be? We can't really have a Cold Nova because the Wizard has a Cold Nova, Frost Nova. We'll likely see some kind of Bone Nova, maybe even a Fire Nova, and who knows, they may surprise us by slipping in a Poison Nova, but I wouldn't hold my breath. And this kind of ties into another point that so far most of the skills we've seen for the Necromancer have all been physical based. And the devs did agree that the Necro is very physical based, but they are still tooling around with what potential elements could be attributed to the Necromancer, and they specifically cited Ray's Golem as a skill that might have different elements with the different runes. Now, we're going to take a look at Blood Golem in a little bit here, but that's really interesting because that means we might see, or we're bound to see, the Fire Golem from D2, but who knows what other kind of Golem we'll see, maybe an Ice Golem. I think the physical-based Iron Golem is practically a given, but we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. Back to Blood Nova. What's interesting about Blood Nova is that it costs not just resource, which is called Essence for the Necromancer, but also health. The Necromancer is a class that will be very deep with respect to its resource management. Currently, the Demon Hunter is arguably the most resource deep class in that it has two separate resources to spend: Hatred and Discipline. But with the Necromancer, we have Essence as its main mana or resource, but it also uses its health sometimes as a resource. It also uses corpses as a resource, which we went over a bit more in the Q&A video. And actually, on that topic, the corpses that we're seeing in the footage seems so much cooler than the corpses that I remember seeing. So they might have done some update to that, and if they did, it's looking great right now. But the Blood Nova also begs the question of what other skills will cost health. Again, this is a really interesting mechanic added to the game, and we speculated a couple years back on a potential Blood Mage that could be added to Diablo that would use Vitality as a main stat, and that it would have to consume its own health in order to cast spells. So it's really cool to see Blizzard going in this direction with the Necromancer. That said, it is still an intelligence-based class, not Vitality-based. They've expressed that they considered making it Vitality-based in some way, but that the current system of the game just wouldn't work well with that. The way the Paragon system is set up just doesn't really bode well to have Vitality as a main stat. The next new skill that was revealed is Devour with the Cannibalize rune. This is a skill that you click, and basically from all the corpses on screen, you suck them up and you regain essence as well as health. Presumably that's what the Cannibalize rune does. It probably adds that life leech as well. And this reminds me slightly of the Witch Doctor's Soul Harvest power, but the difference is that the Witch Doctor has to do this on living enemies, and it kind of combines two of the Soul Harvest runes, where one is that you gain life for every enemy harvested, and one is that you gain mana for every enemy harvested. The other new skill is Raise Golem. The next skill is Raise Golem, Blood Golem. Now, we saw some early models of the Blood Golem back at BlizzCon, but now I'm really impressed with how it looks. The animations are so spot on. It looks really good. I get a little bit of a Dragon Age Blood Mage Abomination vibe from it, but it looks really good. So much cooler than the Diablo 2 Blood Golem. And I say this as someone who loved the Diablo 2 Necromancer. The Blood Golem special is that when you resummon him, he's basically a healing potion. You regain 25% of your health. So you would be popping that active basically when you want to either reposition the Golem or you want health, or both, you know. The last new skill that we saw was Leech, which is a curse that lets you transfer health from attacked enemies to yourself and your allies. So basically, you cast this curse on a bunch of enemies, it's cast in an area, and any enemy that is under this curse that gets attacked returns 1% health per enemy hit. There's really been a strong focus on curses being beneficial for the whole party. Blizzard really wants to make a viable support build for Necromancers. Not only do curses benefit the whole party, but you can cast multiple curses on the same enemies, so they can be under the effects of different curses. Now, just to finish off with some final details, the Necromancer will come to PTR before it releases. We weren't sure whether this would be the case or not, but it looks like it will, so we'll all get to test it out on the PTR before having to buy it. Now, of course, PTR is always looking for focused feedback and bug testing, but let's be real, a lot of people that play PTR just do it to try out the new stuff ahead of time. Blizzard hinted that the PTR for the Necro will likely last longer than most PTRs, and that there might be something else different about it. We'll have to see when more details emerge. Blizzard reiterated that there is no price yet for the Necromancer pack. There's no release date other than the second half of 2017. The Necromancer is not part of an expansion, but it's a DLC, a content pack that includes the class, a pet, cosmetic wings, 2 additional character slots, 2 additional stash tabs just on PC, a portrait frame, a pennant, a banner, and a banner sigil. It will be launching alongside a major content patch, however, and everything else in that major content patch will be free for everyone. This includes 2 new zones, challenge rifts, and more. If you don't know what challenge rifts are, we spoke about that in our BlizzCon video, but that's something I'm really looking forward to, and it's going to be the first real, fair, serious, competitive element that D3 has ever gotten, that Diablo has ever gotten. And that wraps up all the new stuff that we've learned about the Necromancer. We haven't yet learned about the sets. The Necromancer likely will launch with 4 sets, but Blizzard hasn't yet determined what those sets will do. They just want to make sure that all the playstyles for those sets are different and will have different associated legendary items. But more details will come in the future. Personally, I'm excited for the Necromancer. This additional info has only gotten me more excited. I don't yet see any reason for concern about the Necro. I'd be willing to bet that the cosmetic wings that'll be added were those bone wings that we saw in PTR, what, a year or two ago? And I think as long as the price isn't absurd, it's absolutely fair to charge for an additional character. The amount of content, the amount of free content that's been delivered to this game post Reaper of Souls launch has effectively been an expansion. The only thing we haven't gotten is a new story act. And that's why they're not going to price the Necro the same as they would price an expansion. Now, I know a lot of people are going to point to Path of Exile and say, Path of Exile is getting 6 new acts for free, this and that. It's an entirely different business model. Any content added to Path of Exile is not actually free. It's free only because people are spending money on microtransactions. If you haven't spent a dime on Path of Exile, the only reason that that game still exists is because of the people that are spending money on it. So you might not be paying for the content, but someone else is paying for your content. Diablo 3 has no such system where other people can pay so that you get free stuff. I'm not saying which game is better or worse, I'm just saying it's not fair to compare the content that's coming to both games, given they're being funded entirely differently. And that wraps up this video. What are your thoughts on this? Are you looking forward to the Necromancer? Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch and Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more Diablo content.